Mushroom research advances constantly, and the great discoveries may be around the corner. Unfortunately, life in a mushroom farm is always busy, and it's hard to stay up to date. Specialized scientific journals don't help due to technical language and frequent paywalls. Our mission is to bring the latest discoveries on mushroom science to the industry professionals and the mushroom people. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the new episode of the Mycelium Digest.
Welcome to the Mycelium Digest, Episode 8, the show where we bring mushroom science right from the labs to the farms. Today, we're digging into something that might just change how you look at a really common kitchen item, the mushroom. More specifically, we're talking about the part most people, let's be honest, just check in the bin, the mushroom stalk. Get ready, because it turns out this waste product is actually, well, a hidden treasure trove, packed with valuable compounds and with some pretty incredible potential applications across different industries. We're talking about something called valorization, right? For anyone listening, maybe just explain what that means in this context.
Exactly. Valorization is it's basically taking something seen as waste, like these stocks, and figuring out how to unlock their hidden value, turning them into something useful, often profitable too.
Seeing opportunity instead of just, well, compost.
Precisely. We're focusing today on how these mushroom stocks, mostly treated as waste now, could actually become really valuable resources.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. Just how big is the mushroom industry we're talking about, and how much of this waste are we actually generating?
Oh, it's big. The mushroom industry is a major global food player. Think about this. Global production is over 11.8 million tons every year. Turkey alone, for instance, chips in over 49,000 tons. And the white button mushroom, Agaricus bisporus, that's the really common one, makes up what? Over 38% of all mushrooms grown globally.
Over a third, just that one type. Wow.
Yeah. But, and this is the key point, that huge scale creates a lot of byproducts. During processing in factories, anywhere from 5% up to maybe 20% of everything grown can end up as waste. We're talking discarded stalks mainly, or maybe mushrooms that are a bit off color, too long in the stem, or just the wrong size for packing. Actually, one source I saw mentioned that for every single kilogram of processed mushrooms sold, the industry generates about 5 kilograms of other stuff like spent substrate or these kinds of byproducts.
Wait, 5 kilos? For every 1 kilo we eat?
That's what the source indicated, yeah. It's a staggering ratio when you think about it, and it creates huge disposal headaches for the growers, obviously.
No kidding. That really puts the scale into perspective. But you said these stocks have potential. What makes them so promising if they're just being thrown out now?
Well, here's the fascinating part. Even though they're seen as waste, their basic makeup, their inherent constitution, it's very similar to the mushroom cap we eat. And we know edible mushrooms generally have a fantastic nutritional profile, right? Low calories, low fat, no cholesterol, but high in carbs, protein, dietary fiber. Plus things like phenolic compounds, good fats, vitamins, minerals. They're nutritional powerhouses.
Okay, so they're not just empty fiber.
Not at all. And beyond just basic nutrition, mushrooms are packed with bioactive compounds, things like polyketides, terpenes, steroids, fancy names. But basically, these are compounds that give mushrooms health benefits. Think antimicrobial, antioxidant, even anti-allergenic properties. And the stalks, being part of the same organism, they share these valuable properties. They've got the good stuff too.
Right, so it's not just the cap that holds all the secrets. That makes sense. Can you break down the specifics, though? Are the stalks chemically different from the caps in significant ways?
Yes, they can be quite different. Some studies, previous research has shown that the stalk and cap of Agaricus bisporus don't have exactly the same chemical composition. Typically, the stalk tends to be higher in things like carbohydrates, polysaccharides, those phenolic compounds we mentioned, and also calcium. The cap, on the other hand, might have a bit more crude protein, ash, and potassium. So depending on what you're looking for, the stalks might actually offer unique advantages.
Okay, unique advantages. So what are some of these key valuable compounds that researchers are getting excited about in the stalk specifically?
Well, for starters, most mushrooms are naturally high in something called ergosterol. Now, ergosterol is basically a precursor, a provitamin for vitamin D2. And actually, we talked quite a bit about the importance of ergosterol in our last episode. So if you missed that one, definitely go back and check it out.
Ah, yes, I remember. Good point.
And here's where it gets really interesting with the stalks. If you just expose mushrooms, including the stalks, to a bit of UV radiation, think of it like a quick suntan, their vitamin D2 content can skyrocket. I mean, studies have shown it going from practically zero, like 0.00003 micrograms per gram, up to over 90 micrograms per gram in stalks just from UVB treatment.
90, that's a huge jump.
It's incredible. And similar results in freeze-dried white button mushrooms too, up to 177 micrograms per gram. It's so effective, actually, that the European Union has already approved UV-treated mushrooms and mushroom powder as a novel food.
Wow. So a waste product becomes a vitamin D supplement, essentially. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What else is hiding in there?
Okay, another really interesting one is Cleaton. You might know Cleaton from shellfish shells, right?
Heard of it.
Well, white button mushrooms contain a decent amount, maybe 6 to 9% of their dry weight is chitin. And getting chitin and its derivative chitosan from mushrooms instead of shellfish has some real pluses. You're not dependent on fishing seasons, for one. And you often avoid some of the harsher chemical treatments needed to get it from shells, so it's potentially a cleaner, more reliable source.
Greener keton, maybe?
You could say that, yeah. Then there are polysaccharides, particularly D-glucose-based ones. Hot water extracts from Agaricus bisporus, for example, are rich in total D-glucans, especially beta-D-glucans. And these beta-glucans are pretty famous for their immunomodulatory effects.
Immunomodulatory, meaning they affect the immune system.
Exactly. They can help sort of fine-tune your immune response, make it more effective. And researchers are even using things like ultrasound to extract really pure D-glucose polysaccharides that could work as food additives.
Okay. Vitamins, chitin, immune boosters. Anything else?
Enzymes. Let's not forget enzymes. Mushrooms produce various natural enzymes. One group is tyrosinases. Now, these are often known for the downside they cause, that browning you see when mushrooms get older or bruised.
Right, the annoying part.
Yeah, but they also play important roles for the mushroom itself in making spores, maintaining structure, even in defense. So they have other potential uses too.
Okay, so the stalks are definitely not just waste. They're packed with potential vitamin D, chitin, polysaccharides, enzymes. So what does this mean in the real world? How are people actually using these stalks or planning to?
Right, practical applications. Well, one of the most immediately promising areas seems to be animal nutrition, animal feed. Several studies have looked at adding Agaricus bisporus stock meal, just ground up stalks, into the diets of broiler chickens, and they found some really positive effects. Things like better growth performance and improved feed conversion ratio, meaning the chickens get more bang for their buck from the feed.
They grow better on less feed.
Essentially, yes. And maybe even more importantly, it seemed to improve their gut health. Researchers saw better intestinal morphology, like healthier gut linings, higher villi in the jejunum and ileum, which helps nutrient absorption. It also seemed to boost the levels of certain beneficial bacteria in the gut. And interestingly, in some of these studies, the stock meal actually performed better than meal made from the mushroom caps.
Really?
The waste part was better?
In some aspects, yes. It's quite remarkable. There was another study looking at laying hens replacing some of the usual soybean in their feed with mushroom stalks. They found they could substitute up to 20% with the stalks without any negative impact on how many eggs the hens laid or the egg size or how much feed they ate.
So it's a viable replacement, at least partly.
Exactly. And even better, it actually led to less abdominal fat in the hens and, again, improved intestinal structure, better ratios of villus height to crypt depth, which is a good sign for gut health. It even seemed to have a positive effect on some antioxidant enzymes in the hen's blood at certain levels, things like catalase and glutathione peroxidase.
That's fascinating for animal feed. Huge potential there alone. But is it just for animals? What about uses for us humans or in other industries?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely broader than just animal feed. Mushroom extracts, including those from stalks, are being seriously looked at for things like nutraceuticals, health supplements, basically, also for food additives, and even potentially in cleaning products because of their antimicrobial properties.
Antimicrobial, so they can kill bacteria.
They show significant activity against various bacteria, yes. Often they seem to be more effective against gram-positive bacteria than gram-negative ones, though this can depend a lot on how the extract is made and where the mushrooms came from.
Okay, so supplements, additives. What about actual food products?
Yes, definitely. Functional foods is a big area. For example, researchers have used mushroom powder made from stalks to fortify regular wheat flour noodles. What they found was pretty interesting. It lowered the overall starch content of the noodles and boosted the protein content. But the really critical finding was how it affected digestion, in vitro at least. It significantly slowed down the release of sugars during simulated digestion. Meaning it could potentially help regulate blood sugar levels after eating those noodles, less of a sugar spike, And this effect seemed linked to the insoluble dietary fiber in the stalks.
The fiber playing a key role. Makes sense.
And there's more. These fortified noodles also showed better antioxidant properties, higher phenolic content, better antioxidant activity. And interestingly, this activity actually increased after simulated digestion.
So digestion actually unlocks more antioxidants.
It seems that way, yes. Suggesting digestion helps make them more accessible, more bioavailable.
That's really cool. What about preservation? You mentioned chitosan earlier.
Right. Connecting back to that. Chitin and chitosan from Agaricus bisporus fruit bodies have been used to develop film-free preservatives. There's even a patented solution out there. It's basically an edible coating and aqueous solution with chitosan, citric acid, salt, vitamin C, cysteine, and testing showed it could extend the shelf life of fresh mushrooms by 3 to 5 days at room temperature and maybe 15 to 20 days in the fridge.
Wow, just by dipping them in this stuff?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And it's edible and seems much more environmentally friendly than, say, plastic wrap or other traditional methods. A great way to tackle food waste.
Definitely.
Though it's worth noting, science is always nuanced. A recent study used extracts from a different mushroom, Chlorota syringii, to make an edible coating for white button mushrooms. And while that coating did help preserve quality, less weight loss, less browning, better texture, interestingly, the coating itself didn't show antimicrobial effects against the specific bacteria they tested. Yeah, so in that case, the benefits seem to be more of a physical barrier protecting the mushroom rather than actively killing microbes. It just highlights that these things can be complex and the exact mechanism matters.
Okay, so the potential is clearly huge. We've got animal feed, human food, supplements, preservatives. But where do we go from here? How do we actually scale this up and get these applications out into the market? What are the next steps?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Scaling up. A huge part of it is developing better extraction techniques. We need methods that are faster, more efficient, and crucially greener. We need to move towards things like microwave-assisted extraction, ultrasound-assisted extraction, supercritical fluid extraction, methods that use safe, non-toxic solvents like water or CO2 or ethanol. Sustainability and safety have to be key.
Right. Can't solve one problem by creating another with harsh chemicals.
Exactly. But even with promising research, we still need more in-depth studies, particularly around safety for human consumption or use. We need robust, standardized procedures for extraction so results are reliable. And then there's the regulatory side. Depending on what the final product is, food, feed, supplement, there will be different, potentially quite strict, regulations and legislation that need to be figured out and put in place to protect consumers.
So safety testing and clear rules are essential before this hits the mainstream.
Absolutely. For example, that observation that gram-positive bacteria seem more susceptible to these extracts, that hints at a specific way these compounds work, which really needs more detailed investigation to understand fully and ensure it's safe.
Makes sense. Lots of promise, but still some homework to do on the science and the rules.
Precisely. But the potential is undeniable. Think about using stalks, this waste, as a sustainable source of vitamin D2 to fortify foods like flour. That's massive. We already know that fortifying flours can improve their properties too, make them smoother, flow better, which makes them more attractive for use in food or even pharmaceuticals.
So many possibilities branching out from just looking at a mushroom stalk differently.
It really is a paradigm shift in thinking about byproducts.
Well, that's our look into the incredible and often overlooked world of mushroom stalks. From boosting animal health to potentially preserving our food better and creating healthier options for us, these bits we usually throw away are just packed with potential. It really makes you think, doesn't it? If mushroom stalks can offer all this, what other waste products out there might just be waiting for us to uncover their hidden value? Something to maybe mull over.
That's all for this episode of the Mycelium Digest. If you enjoyed this conversation and you're on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. It really helps us out. If you're listening on a podcast app, please follow the show there and maybe even leave us a rating if you have a moment. Your support genuinely helps us grow and keep bringing you this kind of information. And of course, please share this episode. Post it on your social media, send it to friends, anyone you know who's fascinated by fungi. Let's spread the knowledge. Thank you so much for joining us today, and definitely stay tuned for our next episode.